Assessment Task 2, Preliminary Instrument Design, Project Brief. Students will create a simple, performable software instrument patch implementing one sound synthesis method. Students will present and perform their instrument design in class in week 5 and submit their patch file to UTS Online. The frame for this task is an in-class ensemble performance in which you are required to build a patch to produce sounds as specified in a score. There are 2 classes of sound required. Firstly, impulsive sounds, and secondly, sustained sounds with variable pitch or timbre. You can employ any synthesis method you have discovered, but the 2 main methods that we will introduce in weeks 2 and 3 are additive synthesis and subtractive synthesis. In week 4, we will build in control features to make your instrument playable. You will need to develop and rehearse a 1-minute improvisation that demonstrates a range of sound morphologies and provides an engaging listening experience for your audience. Task 2 Requirements. Your patch should provide variation in at least 2 dimensions. For example, pitch versus amplitude, pitch versus pitchedness or mass, or pitch versus spectral shape or timbre. Your patch should be able to create at least 2 kinds of amplitude envelope: fast attack, fast release, for example impulsive sounds, or attack alone, as Smalley describes it, and slow attack, slow release, with graduated continuant. You must be able to perform a variety of morphologies or sound shapes. Your performance should demonstrate development from one kind of morphology to another. For example, you might vary your sound from a sequence of short impulsive sounds to longer sustained sounds. You might create a sound that starts with a slow attack and a continuous unchanging continuant, but slowly evolves with more or less regular variations in pitch, timbre, or mass. You must be able to explain how your patch works and use the technical language around synthesis and control accurately and effectively. Using the criteria. Read through the assessment rubric carefully. The 4 criteria are presentation and usability of patch, range of morphologies in improvisation, clarity and technical accuracy of explanation, and preparation and rehearsal. Use the standards descriptors to learn how to improve your grade. Presentation and usability of patch. Remove all objects in the patch that have no functional purpose, for example, objects left over from experiments or copied and pasted from help patches. If you don't know what something does, you need to work it out by reading the documentation. Use comments to label parts of the patch that you will be using during the performance. I sometimes use a comment box to display a numbered sequence of steps I need to follow to get the patch going in performance, or perhaps as a little mini score. Distinction and high distinction grades will be awarded to students who have explored beyond the basics and developed interesting or detailed approaches to synthesis. The use of the scale object to map control messages to parameters and the use of control messages to drive more than one parameter will all result in higher grades for this criterion. Range of morphologies in improvisation. This criterion is all about the performance, its coherence or sense of development, and the way you exploit the affordances of your patch to achieve something sonically interesting. Even simple patches can produce interesting results with some musical imagination. Make sure you avoid unwanted or unexpected sounds that break the flow of your improvisation. Your performance should allow the listener to hear a variation from short sounds to long sounds. The long sounds should include variation in pitch or timbre. In a really good performance, the listener will be able to hear and feel a sense of care and careful control over each sound shape. Think about the feeling or mood created by each different sound shape. Wind players and singers will have an advantage here. Clarity and technical accuracy of explanation. You have 1 minute to explain the design of your patch. Use the glossary on UTS Online, the help patches and Max documentation, and the readings to find good words to describe your approach. Don't use words that you don't understand. Find new words and learn their meanings, and use references to support the use of your language. Preparation and rehearsal. While rehearsing, think compositionally about your piece. The listener will want to hear a structure or design with clear beginning, ending, and contrasting elements. Think about the final conclusion. How will you give a sense of cadence or finality to the last sound? Rehearse your spoken presentation as well. You can use a script to keep you on time at 1 minute. I hope you find these tips useful in developing and refining your assessment task number 2.